I think it's Aztec time.
Go Aztecs. You could stall a few more hours. Probably not going to do that. Let's just say it. That was it. That was San Diego State's last real chance to prove they deserved an at-large bid. And they got worked. An 86-77 loss at Boise State in a game that was, quite frankly, never competitive. They never led. They trailed by as many as 21. They were down 22-5 before fans had even found their seats at Extra Mile Arena. And the only reason it wasn't a double-digit loss was because Reese Dixon Waters hit a three at the buzzer when everybody was already walking towards the handshake line. You don't get style points for fighting when you're already down 20. And here's the hard truth. That game solidified what has been a more than disappointing season for San Diego State. Because this wasn't supposed to be the year that San Diego State was clawing and scratching for relevance. This was supposed to be the year they built on the foundation of being one of the premier programs in the country. Not just the Mountain West, but the country. 2 years ago, this program was playing for a national championship. 2 to 3 years ago, the Aztecs were 40 minutes away from potentially hanging a banner that would have changed the entire trajectory of mid-major basketball. And now they're hoping New Mexico loses. They're hoping, Utah State stumbles. They're hoping the committee gives them the benefit of the doubt. That's not the standard anymore, or at least it shouldn't be. Let's talk about what happened last night, because it wasn't complicated. San Diego State got embarrassed in the two areas that define their identity: defense and rebounding. Boise State shot over 52% from the field. They went 12 of 25 from three. They scored 86 points, the most San Diego State has allowed in 53 conference games. But the real stat, 37 of 15 on the glass. 37 of 15. You cannot call yourself San Diego State and get out-rebounded by 22. You cannot give up 12 offensive rebounds and 21 second chance points and talk about we fought. Fighting is diving on the floor. Fighting is finishing possessions. Fighting is imposing your will. That was not a fight. That was survival. And this is now back-to-back games allowing 80-plus points. Opponents are averaging over 80 a game over the last 4. This is not Aztec basketball. And I'll say something that might make people a little uncomfortable. When you lose your identity, you lose your margin for error. For years, San Diego State has survived offensive droughts because they guarded and they rebounded like their lives depended on it. They didn't need to shoot 50%. They didn't need NBA-level shot creation. They needed toughness. Now, they're getting bullied on the boards. That's a problem. That's a organizational problem for Aztec basketball. And before anybody twists this, okay, I'm not saying it's time to move on from Brian Dutcher. Absolutely not. That would be insanity. The man has built one of the most consistent programs in America, stemming off of what Steve Fisher built. But what I am saying is it might be time to evolve what the Aztecs are doing and the philosophy of what makes Aztec basketball great. Because college basketball has changed. The transfer portal has changed roster construction. NIL has changed recruiting battles. Experience is being bought and sold every offseason. And maybe, just maybe, San Diego State needs to rethink how they attack this. For years, the formula has been development, find tough, under-recruited guys, redshirt them, build them, turn them into pros. That formula still works, but it works best when you have time. The portal era doesn't allow you to have time. This year's team, it feels caught between identities. Not dominant defensively, not elite offensively, not deep enough physically, not skilled enough to outscore people when the defense breaks down. And that's how you end up 19-10 and 13-6 in conference and sweating out Selection Sunday if you don't make a run at the Mountain West tournament. If you want to be a premier program, and I think San Diego State is one and wants to be one, making the tournament with this roster should not have been this hard. Yes, being a mid-major is difficult. Yes, replacing NBA-level talent isn't easy. Yes, sustaining success after a national title run is rare, but you don't get to use those excuses when you're elevated the brand, when you have elevated what San Diego State basketball is, when you've been on Monday night in April, when you've been proven you could beat Alabama, Creighton, FAU in the Final Four, when you've shown you can win in March, the expectation changes. And that's a good thing. But expectations come with accountability. Losing 4 of 5 at the most inopportune time, that's not bad luck. That's kind of who you are. Getting 20-pieced in the second half in Boise, that's not a bad night. That's a team that doesn't know what is right now. And I keep going back to one play. Miles Byrd with the steal, uncontested dunk, doesn't finish. They had cut it to 5. That was the moment. That was the spark. Missed. And they never got closer than 7 again. That's the season of one play. Opportunity there. Momentum there. The moment was there, and it slips. Now, yes, they still have the Mountain West Tournament in Vegas. They have a top 4 seed. They have a bye. They could see Boise State again. And technically, yes, they could win 3 games and steal the bid. But let's be honest with each other here. The way they're playing right now, there is no shot they make a run. Not defending like this, not rebounding like this, not giving up 80-plus points like this. March rewards teams that know who they are. San Diego State doesn't know who they are right now. And that's the part that should concern Aztec fans. Because this isn't about one loss. It's about trajectory. Boise State started 1-5 in conference and went 10-3 down the stretch. San Diego State was 12-2 and humming and then lost 4 of 5. That's regression. That's peaking in January instead of March. It's backwards. So here's the question moving forward. Does San Diego State double down on this traditional blueprint, or does it adapt? Do you get more athleticism in the portal, more rebounding, more size, more offensive creators? Do you chase proven production instead of development projects? Because the Mountain West, and really, quite frankly, because you're moving to the Pac-12, the Pac-12 is not standing still. Utah State isn't standing still. You know for a fact Gonzaga is not going to stand still. Boise State isn't standing still. And if the goal is just to compete for the league, fine. But if the goal is to be what the program has proven it can be, a national factor, then the bar has to be higher than a 19-10 and hoping for chaos. This season isn't over technically. They can beat UNLV on senior night. They could go to Vegas. They can shock all of us. But belief isn't blind optimism. Belief is based on evidence. And the evidence right now says this team has lost the pillars that made it dangerous. Defense, rebounding, physicality. If they don't rediscover that in the next week, this ends quietly. No at-large, no miracle, just an off-season full of uncomfortable questions. And maybe that's not the worst thing. Because sometimes embarrassment forces evolution. And if San Diego State wants to stay where it climbed to 2 years ago, near the top of college basketball, it might be time to rethink how they build the next one. That's the conversation today. Did they blow it? And if they did, what has to change so this doesn't happen again? That's where I'm at right now with Aztec basketball. Tell me what you think. 833-288-0973. 833-288-0973. What do you think, Frank? What did you get out of that? Out of last night?
It was just an embarrassing performance. Left, right, and center. Everywhere. I mean, I was working on other things, and I turned the game on in the second half, and they were down 22. I'm like, wait a minute. This was not the way it was supposed to go. You were expecting a close game, competitive game. Then you look deeper. They never had a lead at any point. They were just consistently behind. It was not a good night for San Diego State, and it really asked the question, why bother? Why bother winning the Mountain West Championship? Because you're going to be one and done at this rate in the NCAA tournament. You've proven it you proved it in non-conference play that it's going to be a very, very bad time for you against teams that have shown more easily that they are in the tournament. And now you're going to go and actually play in the tournament. You're a one and done team. That's all there is to it. It was not a good night. And you proved that last night in Boise State. That was a game that at least should have been closer than it was, if not winning it. And we talked about it to close out the show yesterday, how important it was to win that game last night to your March Madness, to your Selection Sunday chances. And you not only lost it, but you laid an egg uncompetitively. That is the biggest problem out of San Diego State right now. They were uncompetitive last night in their most important game of the year.
Yeah, they needed that one. And here's the thing. I don't know, in this day and age of college basketball, with the amount of money that schools can spend on players, you got teams that are loaded with big physical athletes that San Diego State does not have. I'm telling you, like, if you don't, it's not going to get better in the Pac-12. I mean, we haven't heard anything about the details of the Pac-12 TV contract, but you have to remember this for all the Aztec fans that think, well, we're going to be in this better basketball conference and the metrics are going to be better and this and that. Gonzaga is going to dominate that conference because they're going to use all the money that they've been promised, that's football money, and pump it into basketball. They're getting a pay raise. They're getting a pay raise. And Gonzaga already is one of the best teams in the country. Like, if you want to be a flag bearer of the Pac-12 in basketball, the new formed Pac-12 in basketball, and I think they have the ability to do that, you're going to have to figure out a way to get some players that are the size of Gonzaga's players. You got to you got to be able to get a guy like Graham Ike, which, I mean, he's got his cons to him being on the team as well. But you don't think Gonzaga's not going to be able to find better players by being upgraded to this conference than they already have? With more money on top of the fact that they already have the donations and everything they need for NIL, you don't think they're going to get better? I mean, San Diego State's in a tough spot right now because they have regressed since the NCAA tournament where they went to the national championship. And by the way, they were going to go back to the national championship the next year, but they went from national championship appearance to Sweet 16 to first four getting blown out to now not making the tournament. I mean, for a program that has been as good as it has, it's starting to regress in terms of what they've accomplished, and it needs to be better. And the other schools in town are going to start spending money, and they're going to catch San Diego State very quickly unless they can go out there and spend the money and get some bigger players. They're going to have to do that. It's the reality of the situation because I don't know how many more times you could sit there and watch this and just be like, everything's fine. It's not. It's not fine. It's just not fine. They did not play well again. I mean, you could hear the post-game press conferences from guys like Miles Bird. They're like, I still think we're the best team in the conference. I mean, you didn't prove it. Over the last 5 games, you've lost 4 of them, and you had the one great win against Utah State at home, but you got to be able to do that on a consistent basis. And last night was rough. But I think, this might be what San Diego State is in this day and age of NIL. I mean, they're already spending money. They're already trying to use their resources. I mean, they're trying to do everything they can to have a competitive team. But I find it hard for them to be able to continue what they've done that's made them successful in this day and age of college athletics. And that, to me, is what needs to change with Aztec basketball. I think this offseason is very important for San Diego State.